you got broken people trying to fix a broken life with bad weather, it's not a good plan. You know, but a lot of us here, most of us here are actually got plans to move on from here, but we gotta have time to finish working those plans out. You know, just kicking us back out from nothing again is making us start all over again. You know, and me myself, not for myself, but I'm asking for the other residents here who I like hanging around with and overseeing, that give them time to help rebuild their lives. You know, let me help them by you helping us. Come on. This is ridiculous. Ain't you got something better to do than just mess with us? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michelle Gross, MICHELLEGROSS. I am the president of Communities United Against Police Brutality, and we have been out talking with people and protesting these encampment evictions because this is not a role that the police should play in this community. The police should not be using our law enforcement officers to come out here and harass and violate people and bother people. It's been outrageous, and especially outrageous in this weather. There have been a number of studies that show that when people do not have some way to warm up and some way to sleep in warm, in weather between 47 degrees and 8 degrees, that is when there's the highest mortality for unsheltered people. 321% increase in mortality for unsheltered people when they are out and exposed to weather between 8 degrees and 47 degrees. And this is outrageous to us. It's a public health emergency. People form encampments for mutual support, for warmth, for privacy, for a way to be safe. And for this government to come and the police consistently routing people out of these encampments is outrageous. I don't know if people know it, but the police, the Minneapolis police, raided and evicted 2 encampments last week in the middle of this winter storm Elliott. In the middle of it, they evicted 2 encampments. Now, what do they expect people to do? Sleep in doorways? That's much less safe, much less warm and comfortable, and much more dangerous for people's health. And people die from that stuff. It is outrageous to us. We're not tolerating it anymore. We don't want our tax money to be used in this way. We don't want our police to be used in this way. And this is why we are out here telling the city that we need an immediate moratorium on encampment evictions. That must end now. And so that's why we are out here supporting these folks. There's no reason that they should give up their housing, the only housing they have, for a city that doesn't care about them. One of the other things I want to mention is that, you know, people will say, well, put them in a shelter. There are no shelter beds for these folks. There are no shelter beds. Because of COVID, our city went from 300 people being chronically homeless to 2,600 being chronically homeless. We do not have enough shelter beds for folks. And even the shelter beds that are available are high barrier shelter beds that people cannot hardly get into. So this is wrong. We should stop this immediately. The city needs much better policies, and the main policy they need is to leave people the hell alone. So that's what we're out here for. Thank you. Yes, please do.
As I'm sitting there listening to her talk, I'm sitting here thinking, you know, I'm not a damn puppy. I ain't nobody's toy. And you come in here and tell me I gotta leave, you playing with me. I'm a grown man, and I'm a tough man. I ain't gonna let nobody just push me nowhere. This is my home right now. I got plans to move on, but my plans take effect when I say they take effect, not when somebody else does. Thank you.
My name is Murin, and I'm fed up. I have spent so many nights this winter seeing people trying to set up anything to get out of the wind. When we can't even stand up, the wind is blowing so hard. We're having to go to our cars, the outreach workers, when we're bundled with coats over coats to warm up. Well, these people are out there with no place to warm up, and they're setting up canvases or tarps, whatever piece of shit they can find, and they're anchoring it on a retaining wall and trying to get the wind to settle down so they can get bricks on it at the bottom. And they're trying to get underneath there so that they can have some shelter from crazy wind and -0 wind chills, so they can just not freeze to death. There's no room in shelters. Nobody wants to go to shelter anyway because they lose all their rights in shelter. The police will say they have to go to a shelter. And we tell them to call Adult Shelter Connect. They don't even know what Adult Shelter Connect is. And I can tell you, anytime you call Adult Shelter Connect, you'll be told there's 1 spot up in Duluth and maybe 2 in Rochester. And this is what we are doing. I am so tired as an outreach person of being out there every eviction and trying to keep my ass warm and thinking, how are they doing it? I watched a man one night in the wind trying to put up a tent for 3 hours while I had to keep going to the car warming up. He's a skinny guy. His wife fell asleep, dead asleep in the car next to me because they had been out all day in this high wind, all day. And this was at about 1 in the morning. And while he's trying to put up a tent that we got to him, the tent is being used like a parachute by the wind and lifting him up the ground over and over off of the ground. The guy, I don't know how he did it out there to finally get this thing settled up, but he was battling for his life and for the life of his wife. And this is so inhumane. If this was happening to dogs, the city would put an end to it right away. And I am fucking exhausted by this. And I can't even imagine the hell they're living in. And I don't care if anybody wants to say, oh, they're on drugs, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. They are human beings. They are human beings, and a good percentage of them are Native Americans. And I really think that that is part of the reason this is going on. It is a 500-year genocide, and it has to be over. Thank you.
My name is DJ, and I just want to say that this is outrageous. It is illegal to turn people's heat off right now, but they're going to come out here and evict people from their houses. What we need to have is sympathy. We're not saying that the encampments are the solution for everyone, but what we are saying is until those solutions actually get finalized by the mayor and like we actually have places for people to go, we got to stop evicting people from their houses. And that's and that is for the middle of the winter, but that's always. We need to stop having these people go through this trauma, because what this is police brutality, right? And we need to make sure that we are not enacting more police brutality on this community in this course, like, you know, George Floyd, after George Floyd was literally murdered here. We're still just seeing MPD getting raise after raise. What we need to be doing is we need to be coming up with solutions. We need to figure out how we're going to support people. A lot of these people that are being evicted are indigenous folks and black folks, and we need to figure out why that is, and we need to understand that these people have been systematically placed here through the systemic structure that they have created. And I just think it's crazy that this is happening, 2 days after the 160th anniversary of the 38+2. So, just a reminder of when they lynched 38 indigenous folks down in Mankato and 2 more 10 years later. So we need to realize what we're doing and what we're fighting against. A lot of people want to call it the sweeps and encampments. This is police brutality. That's what it is. It's police brutality against black and brown folks. And we need to stand up with our neighbors.
Sir, can we get your name, please?
My name is DJ, capital D, capital J.
So I just looked at, I was in this encampment for, I don't know, probably about a month. I come here to speak because strictly on, I hear there's supposed to be an eviction happening tomorrow. And I looked at the sign and it's got numbers to shelters. It's got numbers to places where people can go. And I bet you if you called either one of them, and they'll tell you it's full. You know, so they've done the homework. They've done the homework to keep people running. You know, I mean, when is it going to? When is the time to say, you know what? We're gonna personally see to it that you get somewhere to go, that you're out of the cold. We're gonna personally see to it that, you know, the Native American people are taken care of and looked at. You know, let's talk about treaties here. Let's talk about you know, what it says in the treaties and how they deal with indigenous people. You know, it breaks my heart because I've been in already 3 encampment raids. Near North, I was in that one as well. They came in like it was, you know, they came in like they were going to war. It's like and then we had to fight to get a conversation with the people that change things, that allot the dollars that go out to these people that have nothing. You know, so at the end of the day, you know, the way we make America again, on the same principles it was founded on, was to care about the person standing to your right, standing to your left, standing in front of you. Turn around and look who's behind you. Care about those people because they're your brothers, they're your sisters. They're somebody's mother, they're somebody's father, they're somebody's uncle. You know, it's about humanity here. Let's all stand up. Let's all take a part in resolving this. Let's find a solution. We got many people that know what could happen and what we need to do. Let's do it. Thank you.
My name is Simeon, S-I-M-E-O-N. Last week, police and government employees without warning displaced several people from small communities, one of them on 31st Street in South Minneapolis. Eyewitnesses reported city workers and those responsible for displacing them confiscating propane tanks and other belongings that they were using to keep themselves alive. Any belongings that the residents were unable to pack in time or that they weren't there to move were destroyed or thrown away. Encampments are not the solution for most people. However, the only alternative that the city is offering is to continue. But right now, the only alternative that the city is offering is to continually displace and unhouse people, forcing them not into housing, but into another encampment. And until the city comes up with a better alternative, encampments are and must be a viable solution. They are for most people, and they need to continue being for most people. They offer community, they offer stability, they offer people a chance to get their feet back on the ground. And evicting people from these encampments forces them to start over. Some of the residents here have expressed that since the notice was posted on the 21st, it's been below zero for pretty much every day since then. And I spoke to one of them the other day who basically told me, I can't even go outside of my tent, it's too cold, much less think about packing up my livelihood and finding somewhere else to live. He expressed that he would like the mayor to give them 2 weeks extra time at the very least, and we would like to hear a response from the mayor as to whether or not they'll be given that time. In addition to that, regardless, there may be folks that will be wanting to move tomorrow and that will be forced, unfortunately, under threat of police brutality, to move tomorrow. If you are able and willing to help, please come, please help. Please help defend these people's lives and their livelihoods and their homes. And bring a car, if you have a car, to help folks move. Bring food if you can. We'll be here all day. The police like to come really, really early in the morning when no one's awake. And so we will slash their tents and burn their tents and drag them out of their homes. And so those of us who are able will be here attempting to help people trying to live here in that context. So if you can help, please come.
Will there be a resistance type of action here tomorrow?
What do you mean?
Will people try to prevent the police from dismantling the camp?
I'm not sure.
Do you have any idea approximately how many residents are we talking about in this?
So it varies.
Round figures?
Week to week. In the last month, between 15 and 25.
Are they still setting up like tapes, barricades and stuff like in a huge, big area so that people can't come up to help defend the camp?
They've been doing that in some of the other encampments. I don't know if they're planning to do that here.
Yeah. Again, no one that like that does volunteer work at encampments or is in contact with us, like in the city council members, city like clerks, secretaries. Nobody that we are able to ever get a hold of can ever tell us what's going to happen or when it's going to happen. These plans are locked and are kept under lock and key. And oftentimes these violent raids are conducted without warning, without notice. In this instance, they gave people a 1 week notice saying it was posted on the 21st, and the notice says that they would be forced to leave on or before the 28th. But most of the time people aren't afforded even that 1 week notice. And if they just happen to not be home that day because they are traveling or because they're working, then all their stuff is lost and they don't have the opportunity to pack it up. So,
did any city or county workers come and offer like transport services to shelters or anything like that? To any of the
I'm aware of.
residents?
I know that there are some outreach workers from various organizations that come by of their own volition. The city says that city and Metro Transit, who have been responsible for most of the evictions recently, have claimed that they went out in advance days or in weeks leading up to it to try to offer people resources. But what they mean by resources is a flyer with phone numbers that either don't pick up or are for shelters that are full. And we, myself and other volunteers, like on a daily basis, we call those numbers, we call those shelters to check and see. And rarely is there ever anything available for people to stay at. And if there are shelter beds available, as I think the city is claiming that there are upwards of 50 new beds coming online in this sometime during this past week. I wasn't able to get any clarification about that. But the city council member did say that that was their plan. But those beds, and even if there are other beds available, are usually just overnight stays, and most people would rather stay with their stuff and their homes. Like, they live here. And if it's -5, that might be a good option for a night, but it's not. It doesn't move them out of the encampment. It doesn't give them any reason to leave their home long term. It doesn't give them the option to leave their home long term.
So some of the centers that they talked about, like Hennepin County talked about the Native American Center as a drop-in. Is that just to warm up during the day? It's not an overnight option?
Right. As far as I understand, you're talking about NACC, the Native American Community Clinic. That's a medical resource where they have a clinic that's open most days from certain chunks of time. I think like 11 to 2 and then like 4 to 7 or something like that people can go for emergency medical services, check-ins. And I think they let people stay there if they need to warm up occasionally. But yeah, that's the extent of what I know about them.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I don't know if you don't mind. I'm going to just speak for a second about people getting their property taken. Yeah, I'm going to walk over. You're good. No worries. So I want to just talk for a second about people getting their property taken. There's been a court order to stop this from happening, but it's still happening anyway. And there are very few good solutions for that, except that the city should just stop taking people's property. And during certain encampment, particularly the North Loop, they literally came and slashed people's tents, which, I don't know, if you don't like something that's happening in my neighborhood, you don't get to take a wrecking ball to the side of my house, right? Or your house or whatever, right? They came and slashed people's tents, gave people 5 minutes, and not even really 5 minutes, to gather as much as they could. And we had people that ended up with no shoes on, for example, or things like that, because you don't normally sleep with your shoes on. Most people don't. So people were frantically trying to get out of there, and they literally took whatever property people could not quickly get out of there. Oh, and the other thing they did was they barricaded for 3 blocks in every direction around the encampment, so that people couldn't come in and help people carry their stuff out. So people could not get their properties back. And they literally took everything and bulldozed it to the middle and incinerated it. And that is simply not legal. Our organization is working on a project where we are going to be helping people file small claims, court documents, in order to take the city to court and get money for the stuff that they've gotten stolen from them. And that stuff has been stolen. You know, you can't just come to my house and help yourself to stuff. That's a crime. You can't, you shouldn't be able to go to an encampment and steal people's stuff. And especially not things that people need for survival. Sleeping bags, tents, propane tanks, things like that people really need. Medication.
People who
Documents, yeah. Wallets with documents, all kinds of stuff like that has been, been stolen from people, and there's no good reason for it. You know, if you're going to, in fact, if you're going to evict an encampment, which we don't think you should, at least give people adequate time to pack their belongings and take them. But the thing about it is they shouldn't be evicting these encampments in the first place because people don't have anywhere to go. I love the city always saying things like, I hear the city council members saying things like, it's not dignified to live in an encampment. Well, it's a lot more dignified to live in an encampment than to sleep in a doorway. That we know. And so this is outrageous, and we are demanding an end to this conduct. It should not be the way that we spend our city's resources. Thank you.
Just a quick point of clarification. As other people have stated, unhousing and displacing people in negative degrees is inhumane and brutal. But regardless of the temperature, regardless of the weather, and regardless of the circumstances, evictions are police brutality. They are violent inherently. Unhousing someone, denying someone a basic human psychological need. Ask anybody who's gone through Psych 101, Intro to Psych in college classes or whatever, even high school. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You have the most basic human needs for shelter, security, food, etc. Unhousing people denies them that basic human need, that basic human right, and is inherently violent. Evictions are police brutality, period. Regardless of the weather, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of how many Rubbermaid bins the city offers for people to temporarily store their belongings. Evictions are police brutality and are inherently violent.
Hi, it's good to be out with you. I just came from pretty comfortable South Minneapolis. Full of disgust that I have to keep coming back out to these events. My name is Byron Richard, B-Y-R-O-N. Last name is Richard, R-I-C-H-A-R-D. Live in the 11th Ward, and this sort of clearing threat to public safety happens because South Minneapolis tolerates it. So if you want it to stop, talk to your elected representatives, talk to Linnea Palmisano, talk to Andrew Jenkins, talk to Emily Koski and all the rest, and the mayor, and tell them it's gotta fucking stop.
Yes.
It's not going to stop until our comfortable brothers and sisters in South Minneapolis get the fortitude to actually demand something change. Thank you.
Michelle, can you speak a little bit about the last council meetings and any progress or promises made there?
So it's been an exercise in frustration trying to deal with the city council members. You know, they are, few are interested, mostly ineffective, but the vast majority are not in the least bit interested in talking about addressing this problem in a meaningful way. And the reality is that people that are living in encampments, they aren't the problem. The problem is that we don't have decent housing in this city, enough adequate, affordable housing, and people are not given the resources they need so that people can survive in this town. You know, we shouldn't be thinking of like this as like some kind of problem, right? We should be thinking of this as needs that people have that we need to figure out how to fulfill. And the city council is not interested in that particular approach. And in fact, amazingly, they're actually going against the advice of their own public health people and things like that to continue this process. We have been treated, I would say, exceedingly rudely at the council meetings when we tried to make any opportunities for people who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness to be able to even talk to their council members. You know, I won't forget the way that, you know, some of these council members have literally gotten up and walked out to avoid hearing what people are saying. It's been outrageous. Latricia Beaton comes to my mind in particular because she's exceedingly rude to the community. She, when people tried to meet with her to talk about an eviction moratorium, and they brought a paper with what what we were asking for, she took it, put it through a shredder. This is the level of contempt that people have in this city toward unsheltered homeless people. And again, I want you to recognize what COVID has done to this economy. COVID has done some things to people. People lost their jobs. And then the rent situation, where they were, not making people pay rent, that went away. And next thing you know, what we've got is, we go from 300 chronically homeless folks in our city to 2,600. And we do not have the shelter space. We do not have any kinds of resources that are needed for people. And frankly, shelters aren't even always the answer because, again, many of the shelters are situations where you're there for a night.
Yes.
If you want to be there for longer than that,
yes,
you have to pay. And many people don't have those funds.
You have to leave the next morning, and then next morning.
That's right, that's right. And so this is, how would you like to code every session you have in your back? So this is crazy, and we've been treated badly by the council, haven't made any progress, and it's time for the city council to step up and do their job.
Hello, Pinagigi. I'm from the Ho-Chunk Nation, and Pinagigi means thank you for showing up, for allowing our voices to be heard. I'm a chronically unhoused individual from the streets. I've lived in this encampment multiple times. Yep, so my name, Young Eagle, Y-O-U-N-G, space, E-A-G-L-E, Young Eagle. What I gotta say about this? Well, there's been a series of militarized sweeps happening around the city. In the case of near north at 206 North Girard, for instance, they rolled up with a militarized tank with an LRAD on top of it, which is a long-range acoustic device, if you didn't know what that was, and had a bunch of police showing up in light tactical gear, essentially riot gear and riot deployment weapons. They created 5 checkpoints around, to sweep up, to starve out suffering homeless people. On that day, there was 100 to 200 people who were displaced, for instance. This camp has been a huge part of intentional community for me. It's not just living in tents and stuff like that out here. There's been many art projects and growing flowers and growing plants and different things like that. People just helping each other out, practicing what we call mutual aid. And oftentimes we get demonized and just treated as being this horrific, awful, just sore on society. But if you saw how often people are just sweethearts out in these places, maybe you wouldn't think that so much. As a result of the actions and things that I've experienced going back to Powderhorn or being on the streets at 15, I started to radicalize at a certain point. I self-taught myself on a broken cell phone in tents. That's how I learned how to become who I am, and that's why I speak with the voice that I speak with today. I wasn't always the person I am today. As a result of people helping out people, I became inspired to become a better human being. I don't sell drugs. I used to. Full disclosure. But as a result of everything I've experienced, I've changed my life in ultra significant ways. To come out here in the middle of winter and sweep this place, where so many of us have called home, where we didn't have a home, this is home. Okay, I'm not living here at the moment, but this is still home to me. I care about all the people in here. I'm out doing boots on the ground work. I'm involved in propane drops. Okay, so if there's one call to action I could offer to people, it's that we need propane at all the encampments. Propane is life in this weather. When your little buddy heater runs out of propane, it is an awful feeling. When your tent gets collapsed by snow and it's just you trying to put the tent back up, ooh, that's really terrible and awful. Can you imagine what that might feel like? Can you imagine what it might feel like to sleep with a knife in your hand and your shoes on constantly because you have PTSD and have suffered extreme trauma as a result of, like, you know, the system failing. People talk, why don't they get services? Why don't they get mental health? It's extremely difficult to navigate the mental health system. Even if you have a worker to help you out with that, it's extremely, extremely, extremely difficult. I've had my Hennepin health workers actually scream at people, just like, why can't you get this person an appointment? Additionally, there's like a lot of like other things that go into this or whatever. Like, I'm non-binary. That puts me at increased risk for sexual assault and stuff like that, right? And nobody's saying that we want to keep these camps around forever. The question that I would ask all of you is, why are these camps happening to begin with? This is the richest nation that's ever existed in human history. Ever. The richest nation. All of it stolen. Stolen land, stolen wealth, genocide, stolen labor, exploitation of human beings, and horrific indignities, which in just a couple hundred years has created so much devastation that the entire planet Earth is on the brink of collapse as a result of the capitalist system. What's the real enemy here? Capitalism. Fascism. It's becoming naked fascism at this point. They're taking their masks off. I took my mask off too, and that's why I'm on camera. I'm not hiding myself anymore. I am Young Eagle, I am an anti-fascist, and I'm an anti-capitalist. I identify with the streets, and these are my people. These are my people. I don't care what sort of ethnicity you're from, if you're from Europe, if you're from, you know, if you are descended from Africa or Asia, or if you're native, if you're from the streets, you're my people. We are self-educating at this point. We are self-educating, and we are teaching others what this is, what it's about. Why are we on the streets? If we get a better deal in life, would this be happening? No. Maybe we made bad choices at points in time. I certainly have made bad choices. But if I'd been, you know, not had my land stolen from me and not my dignity and my entire identity stolen from me, perhaps I wouldn't have made those bad choices. So I don't want to take up a lot of time because there's other people who need to speak here. But that would be some things that I would identify or whatever. The real problem here is capitalism, fascism, naked fascism at this point, whether coming from the left or coming from the right. We often think of fascism as a right-wing issue, but it can come from left-wing sources or whatever as well. That's entirely a thing. The left is just as capable of the right wing as like promoting, like, you know, indignity and suffering and greed, genocide and white supremacy and all of these other different things that affect us. We watched the city burn in 2020. Over 40 or 50 cities rioted worldwide. Enough is enough. Again, Peanut Geeky, thank you for everyone for showing up, for showing out. Thank you for the cameras here, for everything like that. If anyone wants to do an extended interview with me, I'm entirely available for that. Clearly I know how to speak. I'm a little angry at this point or whatever, but you know, I can tone it down if you want to do like a chill interview or something like that. So that's an invitation to all media here. We can talk it out, and I would love to talk more, but I don't want to take up too much space. I'm trying to keep it short, trying to keep it brief. Love to the quarry, love to the streets. Again, I want to remind you that you are on stolen Lakota, Dakota, and Dakota land currently. People might own some of these houses, own them with their little pieces of paper, but the streets belong to us. Thank you again.
Hi, my name's Kristen, C-H-R-I-S-T-I-N. Last name's Crabtree, C-R-A-B-T-R-E-E. I live in Ward 9 in Minneapolis. I just wanted to say something quick about the way that services and systems work together in this space. You've heard us talk about MPD, Metro Transit. We talk about Hennepin County and the state, which has an over $17 billion surplus, yet here we are. So I want to just point out that there are all these different functions of government, levels of government that are siloed away from each other, and then within those systems, within Minneapolis, for example, there are the different functions within the city that do different work. They are undercutting one another when they do these evictions. They are undercutting each other and the different levels of government. So we've got, you can say, our Mayor Fry might say, oh, it's not my fault, it's Metro Transit that did this eviction, except for that Mayor Fry evicted those same people a month prior, and the month before that, and the month before that. So I want to make it very clear here that what's happening is that there's nothing constructive being built, and each level of government is saying, oh, well, these guys over here are responsible for this thing. These people over here are responsible for this thing. Well, I'm tired of it, because what's happening is our systems are perpetuating oppression. They're not functioning in a way that serves people. And if you don't care about human life, at least understand that they're wasting your tax dollars by doing this. So we need to do something much more constructive than what's happening now. What's happening now is not working. And I encourage our government leaders to listen to the people most directly impacted, which are the people who have lived here. Thank you.
They call that a socialist society inside of capitalism. That's what they call that. It's backbiting and doing all that. You know, you can't have a. It's the system that was set up is not working anymore. We need to change it. Think about that.
I would say that it never worked. My name is Melanie Groves, and I'm one of the people that started this encampment. And the reason that this encampment was started is because of evictions. It's because people were being evicted from other places and had absolutely nowhere to go. And so we found this piece of city-owned land. No one was here. It was, you know, away from a lot of other things that can be problems when you are unhoused. And I have to say that having worked mutual aid and then become homeless myself, none of these services that we have going on right now work. You know, we hear about shelter beds being available, but I will tell you that when you are out here and you are looking for a shelter bed, they aren't available. They might be empty at the end of the night. They might be empty at the end of the night, but that doesn't mean you have access to them. A year ago, Mayor Fry, when he got his strong mayor powers, went and took, yeah, I know, right? Went and took the onus of sort of overseeing the encampments of people who are unhoused, and took it from Health and Human Services, which is focused on people, the people here who are struggling, who are unhoused, who are out here in the bitter temperatures, who are dying out here and are struggling, and took it from Health and Human Services and put that onus on regulatory services. So it's all about the dollars. It's all about property values. It's all about the retail stores here. It's not about the people. None of us are being served by what's going on right now. People are literally dying out here. And this doesn't solve the problem. By evicting people from a tent, from a community where they have some sort of support and have some sort of sense of safety, you're taking all of that away from them, making them start from scratch. They don't have an insulated tent. They don't have people who know where they are that can help deliver meals. They don't have all the support, even the county services. Where are they going to go? A lot of us don't have phones or data. We don't have a way to be reached. We don't have an address. We don't have a place to be warm. Anywhere. We go into Target. The black shirts are following us, you know, because they know that we're homeless and they don't want us there. So there are very few places that we can even be just a place to call home, or just to rest for a minute. And every day we're out here struggling. Every day I was on a list for housing for over a year, you know, and so often my work said, oh, we couldn't find you, so that opportunity is gone. And it's like, you know where I live, you know, at least I have something here. And so the city is taking action against people, and they are trying to sweep this problem under the rug. We're not a problem. We are people. We are your daughters. We are your sons. We are your mothers, grandmothers, and grandfathers. And we're out here because we have issues. We struggle. We need support, and we're not getting that, you know. And by taking the money that they spend on these evictions, where there are massive police forces coming in with SWAT support for some people who are homeless, freezing outside in a tent. Do you really need to spend the money on that? No, you don't. What you need to spend it on is actual affordable housing, which there's no such thing here in this city. And so many people, if you have a felony, if you've been homeless and haven't had an address for a while, there's no way you're going to get housing. You know, there's no way you're going to get a job without an address. There's no way once you're out here to get back in. It's so difficult, it's so hard, and we need support. And people who show up and help us every day are amazing. But they're not paid. They don't come here because it's their job. They don't come here because they're paid by the city. They come here because they see fellow human beings, people just like them who are struggling, who are hurting, and they, you know, are you hungry? I have food. Here, let me help you. We're on this journey together through life, you know? And if you see someone by the side of the road, why wouldn't you help? But we're in a city that just wants us to go away, that wants us to disappear, that wants us to stop using our voices, and wants this all just to be swept under the rug. But, you know, evicting people from here, where are we going to go? We're going to have to set up somewhere else because there's nowhere for us to be inside. There's no housing. They aren't providing solutions. They're making the problems worse. You know, and the camps get so big because no one has anywhere else to go, and they know there's still camp here, and you know, and that creates its own issues and problems. But if we could just focus on housing first, low barrier housing, so if you have a felony, if you've been homeless for a while, that you can actually get back inside. I didn't qualify for a lot of housing programs because I hadn't been homeless long enough. What is that? Why is there a barrier that I have to be homeless 3 years to get into some of these housing programs? That's ridiculous. That's making the problem worse. And that's exactly what we're doing right now, is making this problem worse. And what we need to do is spend all the money on it that we're spending on evictions, you know, scattering people and making them less safe and hurting them. And people are dying out here. I can't stress that enough. People that I love have died because they couldn't get inside, because they couldn't get services, because this place, these officials that we've elected are not supporting us. They don't see us, and because we don't have the money to fund their campaigns or, you know, to pay for whatever it is, we aren't important. And that's just not true. We are every bit as important as every single one of you. And the fact that we are struggling doesn't make us less important, it makes us more important. You know, we are people who are in need, and we are also the people that will help later on because we've been there. So many people who are unhoused are out here helping at the camps, helping other people who are unhoused because they know what it's like to not be seen, to be a problem, to be shooed away, and not to be given the help we are so desperately crying for. You know, it's criminal. It really is. And we need to find a solution for people and not just scatter them to the winds. We need to find housing. We need to find support. We need to find ways that speak to people. You can't just, as someone who's never been homeless, you can't just decide what's best for someone who's homeless or how it's going to be to get them inside or, well, we have a shelter bed. Well, if I have a tent that's insulated, if I have a community that protects me, am I going to go to a shelter that I just can stay in for the night? I can't. I have to leave early in the morning. I can't bring my belongings with me. And then when I get back out here, maybe I don't have a tent anymore. Maybe I don't have another spot to go to. It's dangerous to leave that safety in the community. You know, there's so many issues that people just don't see because they've never experienced it. They've never talked to us. They don't come out and ask us what we need, what would work for us, what would help us to get back inside. They don't do any of that. And they just bring the police in, you know, and arrest us and shoo us away and take all of our belongings with a freaking bulldozer. Everything that we have, all of our safety, all of our support, our paper. Like, I don't have a social security card because, oh my gosh, my tent was bulldozed. I don't have my birth certificate. I don't have any of those things that we take for granted when we need a job or housing. Because the city has taken a bulldozer. They have woken me up in the morning and said, you have to be out of here in 5 minutes. And people have guns and they're police and you're afraid and it's dark and it's cold. And you're not allowed to take your tent. You're not allowed to take anything more than you can carry. And people who are there to help you are behind the police line and they won't even let them in to help you carry your belongings. What is that? Who are we? Did we let that go on in this society? It's so flabbergasting. When COVID happened, I was the coordinator for the mask movement. And I went every day and found volunteers and people who were sewing masks and we got them to people who were in need. And it was beautiful. People came together. They found a way to help each other and lift each other up and make sure that the people who were vulnerable were safe. And why are we doing it? Why can't we do that now? You know, it doesn't make any sense that we've just forgotten about it now because we don't have to wear a mask to go to the grocery store. It just doesn't make sense. And so we're here to say stop these evictions. Stop kicking us around, chasing us through neighborhoods, chasing us into unsafe situations. Stop the evictions until you have somewhere for us to go. Because if we have nowhere to go, we just die. And what is that? And what society, what kind of people are we that we let that happen to our most vulnerable, to people who are struggling? We don't choose this. Do you have any idea how hard it is to get through some of these nights? Alone and it's cold, and you don't know if you're gonna eat tomorrow. You have no idea what's gonna happen or where you're gonna be when the city comes with their bulldozers. Think about that. On these cold nights, go outside and stand there with no gloves and see how long it takes you to go running back to the safety of your warm house and forget about the problem, forget about the people. I have a feeling that you won't. If you can stand there with frostbite, you know, stand out there in the cold and think about the people who are out there who have no choice, who have nowhere to go, who have no home and no hope. So please give us hope. Give us time. Find solutions for us. Stop evicting us from every safe place that we are able to find. Make solutions that work for us. Please, we are begging you. We are putting our very lives out here, our hearts, so that people will see us. Because when you become invisible when you're homeless, no one sees you, they don't want to see you, you're the problem. What if I, have to feel something and have compassion for someone and not be able to help them? That's hard, I know it's hard. But if we're human beings, that's what we do for each other. We love each other, we come together in community, we find family out here even in the worst circumstances. And I think that's when you see the true heart of people. When there's a fire, who runs toward it and who runs away. We are on fire. Please help us. Don't run away. Run toward us and find solutions. Talk to the people who are in charge, who you have voted for, and tell them what you would like to have happen, how you would like to support us, how we as a community need to come together and make sure that the most vulnerable, the people who are having the hardest struggle, are cared for. Thank you.
Can I just add one more thing really quick? I know.
We need that they tell people what they need to do if they want to help.
Okay, I just want to give, because I did not give, I'm sorry for the long, angry rant. I promise I won't go on much further. Mel said something about housing first. Okay, please Google housing first movement. It has worked in many big cities. It has eliminated the homeless problem in Finland, and it's an organized movement, housing first. And then ask Mayor Fry why he won't tell us how much these evictions cost. Okay, I did not give my name when I came up here before. My entire page is full of facts and figures and places you can donate to help the homeless and things you can do. And my name is Muirin. I'm pretty much the only Muirin on Facebook at all. But the last name is Renee Peterson hyphenated, RENE-Peterson. And every day my page is full of, I have a fundraiser and I have all these facts about housing first and about what the mayor is doing. And please take a look at my page. That's all it's about if you want any information of how to help. Thank you.
I have one brief additional thing to say. I am lawyered up with Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid and Minnesota ACLU. If you're somehow watching this or this gets broadcast on any channel, whether the internet or public TV or anything like that, you want to talk to Rebecca Stillman from Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid. You want to talk to Claire Deagle from Minnesota ACLU. They're fantastic human beings, apart from being fantastic lawyers. Wonderful, just stellar human beings. And you may be entitled to compensation.
Simeon, do you want to say anything about how people can contribute goods and things like that? Go ahead.
Yeah, if you're interested in helping, come tomorrow. If you have a car, if you're able to help people transport their livelihoods to wherever they might be able to find to go. And if you want to donate to the Sanctuary Supply Depot. They receive material necessities and distribute them to other places. If they can't distribute them directly, they'll get them to the places that can. You can donate to them financially or with material goods. You can find their hours online. It's called Sanctuary Supply Depot.
Thank you all so much
Thank you
for
all.
being
Thank
here
you.
today. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.